Hey there, Fletcher All Things Overlanding here, and today on this episode of the podcast, I'm going to be talking, kind of looking back and talking about the 5 things that I wish that I had bought sooner. So whether you're newer to overlanding or if you've been doing it for a while, I'm sure we all have these things that now that we have them, we're like, man, if I had only known about that 3 years ago or whatever, right? So in this episode, I'm going to kind of talk through those. This should be helpful, especially for newer folks or folks that are thinking of changing their setup. So I'm going to walk through those 5 things that I wish I would have bought earlier and tell you what those are and a little bit about why I think those are important in this episode of the podcast. So if you want to hear my 5 top things that I wish I'd bought sooner, stay tuned.
Sandstorm, I fought it, though I wanted everything to do with what you give to me.
All right, guys, so I'm out here in the woods camping, and I wanted to shoot this podcast because I've been thinking a lot recently about the evolution of my setup. And in a lot of ways, I'm finally hitting a point where I'm like just so comfortable. I can do almost anything. You know, I used to be really nervous. If I'm being fully honest, like years ago, I would be really nervous to go out dispersed camping. I remember my first dispersed camping trip. Some random dudes that were calling it an overlanding group were like, we're going to go out to Hoosier National and dispersed camp. And I had never been dispersed camping outside of, sneaking into the woods behind my parents' house when I was a kid and camping. Pretty much always just been to state parks and things like that. So I was like, man, I really want to try this. I had my Xterra then. So I agreed to meet these guys that I'd never met before. We met up. They were all cool. We went out. We dispersed camp. We had a great time, but I was super nervous. I did not know what I was doing. I was not well equipped at all. It was hot, sweaty the whole night. It was in the summer. It ended up being kind of a rough trip, but it was still eye-opening for me about the possibilities, right? I was like, man, this has really been a lot of fun. I want to get that piece of gear, this piece of gear, that piece of gear, this piece of gear. And that is something that I do want to caution you about before we go through these 5 things is all these things I'm going to mention I've grown into over the years, right? So now looking back, I wish that I'd had these things from the beginning, but I will always encourage you to get out with what you've got. Experience it, make sure that you're cool with camping, make sure that you are okay to sleep dispersed, to use the bathroom in the middle of the woods with no toilet around. Check all that stuff out before you go just start spending thousands of dollars, because I can't tell you how many times I've seen people online selling an entire setup and losing thousands of dollars because they bought stuff, got real hyped about it, and then ended up not liking camping. So definitely make sure you get out and you explore with what you've got before you get to these points. But if you've been doing it for a little while and you're like, my setup just really isn't working for me, then I think these 5 things are going to be super helpful for you. So let's start off with number 1. Number 1 is my WeBoost. Now, this is an antenna on top of my truck. I can turn it on and off, and essentially what it does is it boosts my cell phone signal. So a perfect example is this site that I'm in right now. I've got about 1 bar of service, and my text messages were kind of failing and stuff like that. I was having a little bit of trouble getting it to send the text messages. I flip a button on my red arc, turns on the power to my WeBoost. Within 10-15 seconds, it starts amplifying the cell signal, and I went from 1 bar to 2 or 3 bars, which again, not going to be streaming shows. Not going to be streaming shows or anything like that, but that's not the intention of the WeBoost. The WeBoost is great for getting you that little bit of extra signal when you have a little bit of signal, just boosting it so that you can get text messages through. You can get your maps to start. You can get your music to start, right? That kind of thing. So for me, the WeBoost has been amazing, and I fell into it because I had a need for it. I had a situation where I couldn't get in touch with my wife and my family, and that sort of forced me into buying it. But I had been camping for years and just struggling with well, I'm in the woods now, nobody can reach me, and I hope nothing happens while I'm gone. And now since I've had the WeBoost, I've had it on multiple trucks, and it's just been amazing, right? And I'm still using it to this day. Right now I'm on it, connected, and I just got a text message from my mom. So the WeBoost is one of those things that seems a little bit like an expense because they are about $550, somewhere in that ballpark. But here's the thing is there's no plan for it. There's no service that you have to pay for or anything like that. So the longer you have it, the more value you get out of it. I've had mine for probably 6 years now, I think. And so as you spread out that money, right, year over year over year, the longer you have it, the more value you get out of it. So if you've been thinking about it, if you're kind of on the fence about it, I'll put a link in the description below to the one that I run. Definitely consider getting one because, again, the earlier you get it, the more value you're going to get out of it. And if you ever have a situation where you need to get in touch with someone, having something like a WeBoost could potentially make a big difference and get you connected when you otherwise wouldn't be able to. All right, so next, the camper. If you've been following my channel, you've seen for the last few months, I've been putting out a ton of content about my Alibaba Hyperlion outdoors camper. And I've been through multiple iterations of ground tents, hammock camping, rooftop tents, wedge style tents with the X hinge at the bottom, cloth tents that open sideways. I've kind of had them all. And every single one of them had a drawback. The only drawback with this one is weight. It's a little heavier than my old setup, but the pros of the thing are huge. Like the hard walls reduce wind, noise, flapping fabric, give you more insulation, protect you from weather better. If there was a hailstorm or something, it's better than being in a canvas tent. It's just a little hardier. It's insulated better, so it's going to be better in the winter. It's going to do better in the summer. The glass windows are really nice, again, blocking out the sound and stuff. If you have trouble sleeping when you're out in the woods, something like a hard-walled canopy camper could make a big difference in that and make you way more comfortable when you're sleeping. And just the convenience of being able to set it up, pop it up, all the space inside of it, not having to have my feet crammed into a wedge-style tent have made a ton of difference. Not to mention it's cool as hell. Like, it just looks cool. I love it. That's not the reason that I bought it, but the functionality of it is really, really nice. And having all of your gear secured in the back and lockable is a game changer for me, because I had so much gear in the back just sitting out. You could have walked away with a chainsaw or $1,000 refrigerator or my axes and my shovels. All my stuff was just exposed out there, and it became kind of a risk situation where if I would drive it downtown for work or something, I had to really think, where am I parking? Am I going in a parking garage? Do I need to be worried about where I'm leaving it? You know, that kind of thing. Whereas with a lockable canopy, just lock everything up, and it's kind of just like an SUV or something, but with the towing capacity and the payload of a truck. So it's been really great. Now the Molly panels are really good. The accessibility of it, the fact that I can build my power system into it. It's not just the camper itself. It's the ability to have weatherproof enclosed storage that has really changed everything for me. So having my fridge in there, protected from the elements, power system, easily accessible, serviceable, expandable, has been huge. And then again, just the convenience of it, just to be able to just jump up there, stand up in it to change clothes. If you had to go to the bathroom, you could go to the bathroom in the bed of your truck with plenty of headroom above you. So I mean, it really makes you, in my opinion, more self-sufficient, more self-enclosed, right? So for expos and things that I go to too, that's going to be really nice to be able to have some privacy and close the thing up and really be inside instead of outside, where everybody can kind of see you or climb up your ladder and, you know, knock on your fabric. So the camper has been a big game changer too for me, and definitely one of my favorite things that I wish I'd done earlier. So the next thing that I wish I'd gotten earlier is definitely my Rain Outdoor 270 awning. And the reason that I say that is similar to the tent situation with the camper. I've had quite a few awnings, and they've all been great in and of their own ways. The one that I liked the least was one of those sort of two-pole 180, they call them, that come off the side, you know, like Napa had them. There were a bunch of really budget-priced options. I think I had a Smitty built. But it's just such a pain to set up. You got to roll this thing all out. When you're by yourself, you're trying to get these legs stood up and locked in and trying to hold the whole thing up and walk across and lock in the other arm. And it was so inconvenient that I never used it. And so then I started to go to 270 awnings, and most of those were great. You know, like the top oak that I had was good. The open road that I had was good. There's been several of them that are really nice, and they have a ton of coverage. But again, what I found over the years is if it requires a good amount of work to set up, then you're going to come out here like I am right now. I'm camping, and you're like, well, it's not sunny. I'm in the shade, right? Like, I don't really need the awning. Why mess with setting it up and tearing it down? A lot of those bigger 270s like that fold out both ways pretty much require the legs, or they're going to droop a bunch. So, you know, then you got to pull the thing out. You got to hook it in two different spots. You got to put down the legs. You're running into the legs at nighttime. And I know these sound like first world problems, but again, these are things that I've just kind of learned over the years from a preference standpoint. If something is more convenient, if it's simpler, if it's easier, I'm going to use it more, I'm going to get more value out of it, and I'm going to enjoy it more, right? So that has sort of been my slow evolution. And the Rain Outdoor awning is one of those things where now it's a single pole, so you literally take it and you walk all the way around the back of your truck, you hook it in one spot, and you are set up. And this thing is truly freestanding. Like the arm supports are just so much stronger. The design of it is so much better. It is just a super nice awning that I never put the legs down on. I always just leave it up. So I'm not bumping into poles in the middle of the night. It's really, really quick and easy to set up. It's really quick and easy to tear down. It's got built-in lights, which is nice. So if you wanted to take some extra steps, if you're going to be in one place for a while, it's got some nice options that you could easily plug in via USB-A and power your lights. So I actually have run an extension from mine, so I can just plug it into the back of the camper. I've got a USB-A spot right there, and I can just really easily plug it right into there and have lights under the awning. So again, having a good quality awning that is truly freestanding, that's really easy and quick to set up and tear down, makes a huge difference from just a convenience standpoint. So the next thing that I really, really love that I wish I'd gotten earlier is my open road Panther 2S winch. Now I'm getting ready to upgrade to the 3S here. The next time I take this bumper off for, cleaning it up, painting it, I'm going to be upgrading to their newer winch, which is the 3S. But these things from Open Road are just super budget priced, very, very hardy, good winches for the money. And this thing has saved me more than one way. Not so much for recoveries. I don't get stuck a ton. I'm not a super big wheeler, but pulling trees out of the way that have come down across a trail that I've chopped up with a chainsaw a little bit, and rather than literally chopping up an entire tree, you can sort of chop it at one end and then put the winch on it and with a snatch block over to another tree, and you can pull it up off the trail. So I use the winch for that, moving trees and stuff off trails quite a bit. I use it for recovering others. I've had quite a few instances where somebody else did something stupid when I'm trying to take the easy route and they needed recovering, and you can hook up a strap and you can put all that stress on your vehicle by trying to yank people out, and not to mention just a little bit of a safety factor there, or lack of safety factor there, when you're pulling on any vehicle like that sort of violently with a strap. Whereas with a winch you have a lot more control. Again, with a snatch block and stuff like that, it gives you more control over how you're going to do a recovery. When my truck got stuck a few years ago and was at 30 degrees of camber and rolling into a mud pit, we used my winch to kind of secure me to a tree to keep the truck from going any further over, and then we used a buddy's winch to a snatch block to pull on the side of the truck, and then we used another buddy's winch behind me to kind of slowly back me out of the mud pit. So multiple winches help, but just having a winch for self-recovery, for trail clearing, all that kind of thing has been really, really nice. And it's one of those things too where you hope you never need it and you try not to use it as much as possible, but when you need it, it's a game changer for sure. Okay, so last but not least, I want to talk about a fridge. So that is the thing that I actually did figure out pretty early on. I've had a fridge since the Xterra days, but it took me a couple of years to get to the point where I was okay to have a fridge, because it does require some support stuff, right? You do need some sort of a power bank or a dual battery setup or something that can run the fridge indefinitely so that you don't have to worry about it killing your starter battery, that kind of thing. But I mean, I was doing coolers. I did a West Virginia trip to the Monongahela early on in my Xterra before I had a fridge, before I had almost anything. I was ground tent camping, and I took a cooler, and I mean, we were out there for 3 days, 4 days, and I just remember it was summer. It was super, super hot. The ice was all melted. We hit a town. I was worried that my steaks were going to go bad. My food was going to go bad, right? I had to go to a Dollar General and buy some bags of ice, and it's such a nightmare to mess with coolers. Now, there are a lot of people that have good success with them, and I don't mean to knock coolers, but I'm just saying, once I kind of got to the point where I'm like, look, I love overlanding. I love dispersed camping. I want to be self-sufficient. I want to be off the grid. I want to be able to be comfortable and not have to worry about things. And I started to build in dual battery setups. The fridge became kind of a no-brainer, and they're so inexpensive. This set power that I have starts at about $160. With the tall lid, I think it's $220, but it's a 30-liter nice little fridge, works great. I've got some beer in there. I've got some potato salad. I've got some cheese ball that I brought with me and some crackers. So I've got some snacks, I've got some lunch food, I've got some drinks, right? And it's just so convenient. I also use it quite a bit when I go to the grocery store and stuff. So again, similar to the winch, there's more than one reason to use this stuff and more than one benefit to each of these sort of overlanding items. We went on a trip a couple years ago to Tennessee, and we were driving for about 7 hours to get down there. And my wife was like, we were bringing my truck anyways because I had to go to another event after the trip. And she's like, hey, can I put all of our refrigerated food in your fridge? And I'm like, sure, yeah, why not? So we loaded up my fridge with all of our cool stuff and brought it down and then unloaded it and put it right in the refrigerator at the place where we were staying, and it worked out great. And I use it at the grocery store and everything all the time. So again, having a fridge has been a big game changer. Getting rid of ice, getting rid of coolers, big difference in my camping trips and my comfort. All right, guys, so that will do it for this episode of the podcast. Those are my top 5 things that I wish that I had got sooner. If you're watching on YouTube or on Spotify, post up in the comments down below. I'd love to hear, what are your 5 things, right? What are the things that you found to be game-changing for you that you wish you'd done earlier? Or maybe you disagree with my list. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you're listening on the podcast, though, and don't have a place to leave comments, there are also links to all my social channels down below in the description. I'd love to have you follow along on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm pretty much everywhere. So definitely make sure that you subscribe everywhere. Also, if you're watching this video on YouTube, there is a join button below this video, which gets you early access to these podcasts. It gets you early access to all the videos that I do. If you're listening on the podcast, but you've never checked out the YouTube channel, you should definitely go over there as well, because these are video and audio podcasts that I do. And then I do a ton of other gear videos, trip videos. I talk about my Alibaba camper, my Nissan Frontier. So there's tons of stuff related to budget-minded overlanding, do-it-yourself modifications, that kind of thing. So definitely consider clicking that join button if you're on YouTube, or going to YouTube if you have not been there and you're just listening on the podcast. But if you want to be more involved with all things overlanding, there's also a link in the description to my Patreon group. And this group is awesome. We've got over 30 guys in it now at this point. We do a 24/7 Discord where we chat about our rigs, we share memes, we share jokes. It's a ton of fun. We do a once a month Zoom call, and we're getting together for a couple trips a year. So we've been to West Virginia, we've been to Land Between the Lakes, Hoosier National Forest. We're getting ready to go to the Ozarks this fall. So if that sounds good to you, we'd love to have you. It's just so fun, and I can see friendships being formed, and all these guys are great. So it's been a lot of fun, and if that sounds interesting, we'd love to have you. Then there is also a link to my website where I've got funny overlanding camping themed patches and stickers, things like "Don't burn your wiener" and "It's a hot dog," or "I hate people so I camp," or "Roughing it with Wi-Fi," a picture of a Starlink in front of some trees. So if any of that sounds good, if you want to decorate your rig, if you want to put stuff on your headliner, if you want to put stuff on your fridge or your cooler, feel free to check out that link to my website down below. And then last but not least, there's also a group that I run called Newbie Overlanders. It's got over 32,000 people at the time I'm recording this, and it's awesome. Different from the big groups, there's no bullying. We don't allow a bunch of self-promotion or anything. So if you want a cleaner experience, if you want to ask some questions or help people that are newer to overlanding, that may be a good place for you, and we'd love to have you there as well. So thanks again for watching, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.